Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome, living beneficiaries, to the show for living beneficiaries, the House of Hidalgo show on the Estate Radio Network. Prepare for the most educational 60 minutes on all of radio with your host, Rick Hidalgo. The House of Hidalgo show can be followed on Twitter or Facebook by searching House of Hidalgo. Find the show on the web at www.therockofsalem.org. Sign up for the newsletter, and while you're there, take the 5-question survey to let us know what you think. The Estate Radio Network is part of the Blog Talk Radio family of networks and can be found at www.blogtalkradio.com/South Dakota DP. Join the show now by chat or call 619-639-4605. Don't forget to dial 1 to get in the queue. Here's your host, Rick Hidalgo! Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the House of Hidalgo show on the Estate Radio Network. I am your host, Rick Hidalgo, and we have another wonderful session coming up today. Very, very compelling story that you've got to hear. So I hope you encourage all your friends to come and listen. So call them up right now and tell them to get on this show and get to listening. Otherwise, the archive will be available, and you can certainly listen to that at any time. Reminder, if you go to blogtalkradio.com/South Dakota DP, go down to the down to the very bottom of the page, you can participate in our chat session that we have going on right now, and you can ask your questions or make any comments that you would like to make. With all that aside, I'm going to bring on my my special guest today, and it is her name is Wanda Grantham. Is it pronounced correct?
That's right. That's close enough.
All right, excellent. Wanda, I appreciate you coming on the show today, and we're going to try to get your the others on the call here as soon as we possibly can. If you could just send me their number in the little chat, the Skype chat there, I'll type their number in.
Okay.
And try to add them to the call.
Sorry it's taking me so long today.
No, that's okay. No problem.
Thanks for having me as a guest. I appreciate it very much.
Oh, it's no problem. You've got a very important story to share, and I want to give you the opportunity to share it to your heart's content. So if you want to, while you're looking for that number, go ahead and start giving us a little history as to what happened.
May 1st, 1999, I was in the process of transporting a sister from San Antonio to Houston. I'd driven over from Houston to San Antonio, picked her up, was about 15 miles from my home, when I got rear-ended by an off-duty jailer. And he hit me doing 100 miles an hour. He was texting on his cell phone. So he was looking down, accelerating, getting on the freeway, and he rear-ended me. Because I had prior driving experience, I didn't jackknife and roll. He did a 360 and shut off into the medium, and it took just about 2 years for a settlement to finally come out of it. He lost his driver's license for a year, but his whole family are law enforcement officers, constables, sheriff's department, etc. So he drove to work anyway, without risk of having a ticket. And he didn't come to find out, he had rear-ended 2 more people at high speeds before me. So I was the third person. Yeah, this has been 14 years of just struggling, just excruciating pain, multiple spine surgeries, presented with tetraplegia 5 days after the accident. They told me I would be having a full circle fusion, but due to the risk of doing this whole procedure in one operation, they had bad results with that. People committing suicide, the pain too extreme to tolerate. So they were going to do this piecemeal. One surgery, the most ruptured and shattered discs first until they got the whole neck fused from C3 to C7. And that's when the odyssey began. So I had 2 surgeries in Houston. I lost my land, I lost my acreage, I lost my property, I lost my family, I lost my savings. The first surgery I had in Houston, this is kind of important to the story, is they sent a social worker up to my hospital and woke me up out of anesthesia. Fresh out of my first surgery, which is C4, C5, C6. The social worker standing over me telling me that I'll never work again and that I need to sign on Social Security disability. My father being a master of communications for Stratcom 38 years, you never take anything from the government. You work what you want for what you want, and you don't take any freebies. So I told her, no, I didn't need it. Get the hell out of my room. She says, you look like you're in pain. I said, yeah, you just woke me up out of anesthesia from recovery from major surgery. Of course I'm in pain. She goes out to the nurse's station. The nurse comes back in and puts narcotics in my IV, and I'm all loopy at that point. She comes back into the room. She says, Miss Grantham, you need to make an X on this piece of paper. Here, I'll hold your hand, and I'll do it for you. So she put the pen in my hand, held the pen in my hand, and made an X on the document. Before I was even released from the hospital, the government had seized the settlement. $65,000. So they gave me enough to pay the first ambulance ride and the first MRI. So that's all I got out of this. The state got the rest of it for my future ongoing care. Okay, I've lost my land. Further down the road, in 4 years, I move over to San Antonio following my elderly mother over here to take care of her. And when I got over here, I had 2 more surgeries. Little did I know, for the last 10 years, my primary physician had been withholding my operative reports from the long-term insurance carrier. Now, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, Disability, SSI, poor, okay? So I'm complaining to these doctors and all these plethora of doctors that she's sending me to within her group about not having this, not having that, wheelchair, electric wheelchair, ramp, disability shower, where I've almost drowned in my own tub 3 times, caregiving services, and for each one of these modalities that somebody with a complete broken neck needs, I've had to fight for them. Beg, plead, and whine. I get called all these different agencies. From United Way, Red Cross, Christopher Reeve's Spinal Injury, all of these agencies. Come to find out, 5 years ago started the lawsuits. Now, Superior Insurance is the long-term care insurer, and they're saying they're not suing me. But what they do is they come in and they assess you, and the nurse comes in and asks you all your disability and all your questions, so you answer them. I've never tried to hide my broken neck. I tell everybody about it. Because you can't see the broken neck inside. It's like an invisible disability. You can't see the titanium plate, the bone grafts, the wire cage, everything that's holding my head on. So there's a big gash. If you go to my Facebook page, you'll see a photograph of the back of my neck, and it's mutilated.
Right.
So I show them this, and I tell them I have a broken neck. Well, they haven't been documenting this for the last 5 years. Superior's been sending a nurses or an assessment team to come in here to get my diagnoses. They fax the doctor a requisition for disability information. The physician does not release that information. So my current disability is arthritis and depression. Nothing about this. It's the broken neck that never existed. Okay?
Right.
It's not on the internet. They don't even know about it. It never existed. And I only found this out last September. I knew that I wasn't getting the benefits that I needed for my disability. I knew that I was doing without, that I was struggling. I was having a hard time just getting the modalities and things that I needed. And I kept complaining to my physician all this time. I went into her physician's office to talk to her. I said, why have you not told the insurance carrier about my broken neck? Her mouth dropped open and she ran out of the room. So I went in to see her PA. I asked her the same thing. I said, there's a problem here. Don't you think it would behoove the insurance company to know I have a broken neck, a complete broken neck, and herniated above and below the pre-existing 5-disc fusion? Well, I saw something about this on the nurse's desk, and, we'll try to take care of it, but they never did. So I petitioned them. I begged them. I said, please don't make me go to a higher authority to force you to release the operative reports to the insurance carrier. Just submit them.
Wow.
So I'm working with the insurance company, and 10 months down the road, they keep telling me, you're not a physician, a licensed physician, so that even if we accept the operative reports for you, they're inadmissible to our record. They're not legal. So this goes on for 10 months. I go through Health and Human Services. I call Medicare, tell Medicare this issue. They're like, we've never heard of this before. This is the first time we have heard of anything so bizarre, but this is illegal and it's immoral. So you need to hire an attorney and file with the state medical board to have her investigated. So I tried to do both. The state's been suing me 4 years in a row to take away my Star Plus, my CBA waiver, and the lower benefits that help paraplegic, tetraplegics, quadriplegics, semi-paralyzed people with severe spine injuries. So they're suing me to take, and we have a hearing, and it's on the phone, and I've won 4 years in a row. Finally, I got tired of fighting for the benefits that I'm due by law, and having to fight for them every year from October to January. So I'm basically in discovery where I'm having to prove to the insurance company that I'm still disabled to require the benefits provided. So the state's paying for these benefits, but I'm not receiving them. Because, see, they don't know about the broken neck. It's not legal.
Wow.
Yeah, and it gets more complicated, worse than that. So I went to my congressman, my senator, my state representative. I took them all the operative reports, and I told them this, what Medicare said. I said, can you please submit them? They said, well, there's nothing we can do. I said, what are you talking about? You guys write the law. You guys are overseeing, one of you oversees Medicare, the other one Health and Human Services, the other one's Medicaid. You can't tell me you don't have jurisdiction or authority to submit these operative reports and have the insurance company accept them legally. So the best they can do for me is set me up with Meals on Wheels and get me a one-time delivery from the food bank.
Wow.
I went even higher. I went to Ted Cruz. I went to John Cornyn. I went to Greg Abbott, the state attorney general. I went to Eric Holder, the federal attorney general. I emailed my statement to the White House. I emailed it to Health and Human Services, to the state medical board, there were several investigations. And the most that they would do, John Cornyn's office, Rick Perry. I think the only person that I didn't mail this statement to was San Antonio City Mayor Cisneros, or whoever. So I've been through every agency trying to rectify the situation amicably without a lawsuit, because nobody would take the case. Nobody's going to battle up against the state of Texas, right? Because it's all state agency. It's all state stuff.
Right.
State-appointed physician, state-appointed insurance carrier, and Texas Disability Rights, formerly Advocacy Incorporated, had won my CBA waiver, my Star Plus, and those lower benefits back in December. The case was kicked out of court by the judge, and it was one on depression and dysphagia or some other little minor. So I have like 45 different diagnoses plus the broken neck.
Goodness.
And nobody can seem to do anything. So what they've forced me, and still at this point in time, they came out, Superior came out, had an in-home meeting, and two of these nurses showed up, I told this the same story to one of the nurses that was here. She started crying. They took me to Quick Copy. We copy like 180 pages of 5 operative reports, 4 spine surgeries where they had to completely rebuild my esophagus because they had pulled it out too many times and it was damaged at this point. So in order for me to swallow and eat food, they had to do something called a Nissen fundoplication. That's upper esophageal, lower esophageal, and Lee muscle repair.
Wow.
So that my food and liquids would stay down. Because I'd lost so much weight because the whole esophagus, because when they cut open your neck through an anterior fusion, they have to pull your whole esophagus out and kind of lay it over on the side. Well, that damages it after you do that so many times. Then you can't hold food or water down. So in order to keep me from starving, I had to repair that. Then, finally, I go independent of the clinic and go to a neurosurgeon and get a complete brand new updated diagnosis that my physician should have been doing all this time, said that Medicare wouldn't pay for an MRI. When I had the accident, and they determined I had a completely broken neck, they told me I'd be needing an evaluation once a year to keep track of the broken neck because it would fail above and below because of the weight of the body of fused vertebra would cause stressors above and below to adjacent vertebra. So surgery would be an ongoing thing for me for the rest of my life. As the disc fell, they need to be repaired, correct?
Right.
You with me? Okay.
Yes.
So I get going off on, because there's so much involved in this case, I get lost in it.
Yeah, I understand.
So they come in, they get the operative reports, they take the insurance, takes them back to the company and assure me. I asked them, I said, are you going to submit these to the review board so that they can make the appropriate changes in my disability case to bring it up to its current status? And they tell me yes. They lied. They go back to the office and they tell me, well, when I call them up and ask them what my current disability is, it's now arthritis, dysphagia, which is difficulty swallowing, and depression. No broken neck. Still doesn't exist on record. So I said, when did y'all come out here and get the operative reports for me? Finally said, well, we'll add them on this September when we do your next assessment.
Wow.
So it doesn't matter when the broken neck happened. It didn't matter how many surgeries I've had. And I think the last one was in 2010. Was the 5th surgery. It doesn't matter. It's all rolling over annually for their assessment. So they placated me. And I really don't believe that this September, when they send the nurses in, that they're, because the nurses have been told not to document the broken neck, because I keep telling them about it all 4 years that they've been in here trying to take my benefits away. I'm like showing them the incisions. Here's where they operated on me in the front 3 times. Here's where they operated with a revision for pseudoarthrodesis because they prematurely removed the plate at C67 too soon, and it rebroke, and y'all had to go in and fix it and left me mutilated with my spine exposed with just a covering of skin over in the back of my neck. If you look at that photograph, you can see that it just looks like somebody sliced me open and left it open. You can literally see my spine.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be covered over with a layer of muscle.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook right now.
Yeah, it's grotesque. It's mutilated. They used Dermabond instead of sewing me together. The physician that did that last surgery, he's no longer, they took away his license. He's no longer able, neurosurgeon, no longer able to operate on spine injury patients. They pulled his spine injury right. Because he fell, from what I understand, he fell asleep in the theater, and the interns that were assisting him in this surgery weren't allowed to suture, so they glued me together with Dermabond, and it broke open, and they left me that way.
Wow.
So I'm sorry I can't seem to get, Sandra and Tom are going to seek a remedy for me.
Yes.
And they will be filing some paperwork through an independent court and I look at it this way, the pyramid poop rolls downhill.
Right.
The bottom of the pyramid, the pre-existing pyramid that we are in, it's the disabled and the elderly. We're down in the cesspool, so that's what we're going to go for, is the cesspool.
Yes.
And we're going to start with each one of these individuals that let me fall through the cracks, starting with the key culprit, Rocky Allen Anderson III.
Why don't you go into that a little bit, Wanda? You've made some discoveries as to, this mafia family.
Actually, they're pretty hidden. Rocky Allen Anderson didn't even have a Facebook page until 2012. I just found him on Facebook. He is 33 years old now. He was 19 when he rear-ended me. His father called me up 5 days after the accident and chewed me out. Why did his son lose, because his father is the same. It's Rocky Allen Anderson III, Rocky Allen Anderson II, Rocky Allen Anderson I. His father's a constable. I believe his uncle is a state senator for Wisconsin or some state up north. You can just Google Rocky Allen Anderson and you're going to come up with a senator. It's the same name. Mm-hmm. And that name seems to be hereditarily passed down from one Rocky Allen Anderson to the next, to now his own son is named Rocky Allen Anderson Jr. They ran out of first, second, third, fourth, fifth.
Yeah.
So his whole family are cops, or in law enforcement in one way, shape, fashion, or form. His daddy chewed me out for getting in his son's way. He called me up, why did my son lose his license? I said, he didn't tell you? And he was living at home. He was 19 years old when he hit me. He was living at home with his daddy, the constable. And he said, no. I said, well, I suggest you call my attorney. Come to find out, all 5 of my attorneys sold out. So they were involved in this. So it's the next that never happened by the cop who crippled me that never was. Come to find out, he works for Texas Children's Hospital in Houston on Fannin now. So half of his family are medical, half of them are law enforcement. So I couldn't figure out how come this, I'm nobody important. Why should they have to hide this case? I'm not out with peaceful streets in Austin, Texas, publicizing his name up until now, 14 years later, right? So I'm keeping his anonymity. I'm complying with the state regulations for acceptance of the settlement. I don't divulge who got what, where, and when. Right? I never tell the insurance company's name. I know what the law is. I never really say his name in public. The doctors asked me what happened to me. I said, well, a cop rear-ended me doing 100 miles an hour, and here I am with a broken neck. Somehow this case has been hidden for 14 years within the insurance company for the last 10, and the state's been suing me to take away my benefits for the last 4, and we'll do it again this September. So I got enough. I got a setback belly full. I'm like, no, I'm not fighting for these benefits anymore. I was crippled. I'm bona fide disabled. I'm running around with roving paralysis, wall crawling, can't really walk, can't run, can't physically pick up anything heavier than 2 pounds without suffering excruciating pain. They had me on class 2, class 3 narcotics up until the stuff stopped working, and I just had to detox my own self off of morphine. Now they've reclassified me as having a mental disability, which is depression, which is BS, in order to keep from treating me for the already next fusions, which are coming up. Because the herniations will turn into a rupture, then I'll go bone on bone. Then I'm facing paralysis, quadriplegia, tetraplegia. And the next surgery is going to be a halo. You know, that's where they put 4 bolts in your head and put a ring around your head that's bolted to your chest so you can't move your upper torso at all. That's what they use for higher vertebrae injuries like Christopher Reeves,
Right.
C2, C3, C3, C4, Axis C1. That's the base right below your brain. So they have to immobilize you completely by screwing 4 rods into your skull, putting a metal halo around your head and bolting your head to your body in like a upper torso sheepskin body cast. And it's all titanium rods and wires. Plus they have to put a new plate in. 2 new plates. One at C2, C3. I'm already fusing C3 through C7, right? And then at C7, T1, I'm herniated again, prolapse. That means bone on bone, it's tipped. The weight of my head and my current pre-existing fusions is grinding down on the next lower vertebra. So we're not done.
Wow. I don't know how you go from one day to the next with all these crazy situations that you're involved in.
Minute by minute.
Yeah, I guess.
Lots of faith, a lot of fortitude, determination, and a survival instinct that I can only credit my parents and grandparents with for giving me.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do, while you look for that number, we're going to take a quick little station break here.
Okay.
It's going to be about 2.5 minutes long, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about solutions. How about that?
Yes, remedy.
All right. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Do you need an experienced editor to look over your short story, script, or novel? Do you need help building a platform or self-publishing your book? Are you on the cusp of realizing your dream, but you need someone to help you with those few extra steps? Are you a business in need of an established copy editor or copywriter? Dan O'Brien has more than a decade of experience in writing and publishing, and his rates are flexible. All that matters to Dan is the integrity of your artistic vision, and Dan can help you create the highest quality work possible. Please email Dan today at amalgamconsulting@gmail.com or visit his website, www.amalgamconsulting.com. That's AMALGAM consulting.com. Write Dan today. Start your dreams tomorrow. Do you have hopes, dreams, and goals, but don't know how to reach them? Do you wonder how you could do differently to achieve greater success at home or at work? Do you feel like something is holding you back from enjoying your life to the fullest? Are you fed up with status quo and ready for real and lasting life change? Are you wanting to start a business or expand an existing one? If the answer to any of these questions is yes, then you are ready for life coaching with Mr. Attitude. Mr. Attitude will stretch and grow you and take your life to a whole new level of success by equipping you with the tools to help you to accomplish more in less time, get and keep your priorities in line, gain greater happiness and joy, face your fears, plan for success, be more assertive and confident, overcome negative stress, deal with negative thinking, set goals you will achieve, and more. Mr. Attitude specializes in results producing. Life strategy coaching for the personal side of your life, small business coaching for those who want to start a small business or build a stronger small business, trainer coaching for those who aspire to become a motivational professional speaker. Call today and reserve your appointment with greater success. 605-450-1955. That's 605-450-1955. Or email Bob at MrAttitudespeaks.com. That's MrAttitudespeaks.com. Mr. Attitude is committed to your success. All right, we're back on the program. This is your host, Rick Hidalgo. This, of course, is the House of Hidalgo show. And we're talking today with Wanda Grantham from, I think you're in San Antonio, Texas.
That's right.
And if I remember correctly, from the show that I listened to, Cancel the Cabal with Stephen Roberts, you had mentioned something about you'd love to get out of the state of Texas.
Yes, the state of Texas is 49th on the list of Medicare, Medicaid rankings for the disabled, right above Mississippi.
Wow, that's...
So the top two states are Arizona or Colorado.
Yeah, well, and I also recall the conversation you had with him. You mentioned the fact that you've gone to all kinds of different organizations and asked for help, and nobody's bothered to help you.
No, they put me on a conveyor belt of I'm not responsible, or I don't have jurisdiction, or why don't you call the Red Cross?
Jeez.
So I just get passed from one agency. I even called the Christopher Reeves Foundation. If you're not rich and you're not a celebrity, they're really not going to make a big deal over this.
Mm-hmm.
This cop never even apologized. I don't even think he realizes what he did to me.
Goodness.
It doesn't concern him.
Yeah, I guess not. I'm going to make an attempt here to...
Yes, please give Tom a ring.
Yeah.
And I'll go ahead and explain how this happened. I had talked to some friends online, and I'm telling everybody this story now. I'm telling everybody the truth. It's my truth. It's so unbelievable. Some people don't even believe that this is even happening to me, like Medicare didn't. They believed it. They never heard of it. So Tom and Sandra offered up a solution or some type of remedy. And being the position that I'm in...
This is Tom.
Hi, Tom. This is Rick Hidalgo. I'm on with Wanda right now. She's been trying to get a hold of you. Wanda, go ahead.
And Tom and Sandra are offering a unique remedy for me, and I'll let Tom take it and explain how this beautiful couple has stepped up to the plate after me going through everybody and their mother's son, people who have never met me in person, all the way across the United States, and this is what they're going to do. Take it, Tom.
Okay, Wanda. Thanks, Rick. I appreciate you calling. We're right now getting some seals, embossers made of our International Common Law Court of Justice. It's a separate court system from the United States courts. And it's a superior court authority. And it has to do primarily, it's an environmental court. It has to do with public health and welfare. It also has to do with prosecuting unlawful discharge violations of the Federal Water Pollution Control Act Amendment of 1972 that was developed as a result of JFK's influence back early before they killed him, because he knew that this so-called government that we have, that's no government at all, they in fact are the United States wastewater industry.
Mm-hmm.
They organized in the London Guild and came over here and established their municipal wastewater utility industry in 1871 and impersonated the United States government and, of course, state, county, and federal governments. It's all owned by the Vatican.
Yes.
And so I know this is, I just said a whole bunch of things. People can listen to your show over and over and get the gist of the story.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the reality. I have a 40-year career in the United States wastewater industry. I developed technology well into that career in the late 80s, and that technology was mandated to be implemented by the requirements of this particular Federal Water Pollution Control Act. It's also called, they refer to it as the Clean Water Act. Well, basically, here's what's going down. The United States government, acting the United States wastewater industry, doing business as the United States government, they are discharging toxic pollutants that are listed and mandated to be contained and controlled at each individual home, and has been unlawful not to do that since July 1, 1973. And so, but the reason they don't want to is because it's the largest industry in the world. The United States wastewater industry, which is unlawful, has been unlawful since July 1, 1973. You guys won't believe this. Public sewers were to be eliminated by 1985. That was the first priority of Congress established. The very first criteria that was supposed to be done and completed was to eliminate public sewers and use of public sewers and all those toxic pollutants that are discharged from public sewers into our waterways was to be eliminated by 1985. Well, the government didn't really want to do what Congress intended for it to do. That's obviously the last good Congress that we had, because now every member of Congress is also unlawfully discharging in violation of this Federal Water Pollution Control Act. It's a federal health law. Mm-hmm. But it puts the government out of business. Like I said, they're just a wastewater industry. 40% of the revenue nationally, municipalities, are created from sewer-related revenues, which, like I said, have been unlawful for 40 years. So they didn't want to give that up. Plus, by ceasing poisoning all of our drinking water resources, and they all are poisoned, not a single public drinking water supply is safe drinking water anymore. We have evidence of every one of them are discharging toxic pollutants that are destroying our bodies and harming us in many ways. But that's what the benefit is their unlawful discharge of toxic pollutants into our drinking waters. That is the foundation that enables their other primary corrupt organizations, their insurance industries, their health care industries, and their pharmaceutical industries. That the unlawful discharge is what spurs them and supports them, because it keeps us sick and in bad health ways. And also, they charge so much money for their health care that we have to get insurance in order to get any health care. So it's just a big scam all the way around.
Yes, sir.
So that's the primary of it. And the benefit to us, now that we know it, and also Congress provided for us to have a separate court system in Section 9 of Public Law 92-500, like I said, the Federal Water Pollution Control Act Amendment of 1972, that was established to completely replace the Federal Water Pollution Control Act of 1948, which they didn't do. They're just maintaining under the old Federal Water Pollution Control Act practices. And when Congress passed this law, Nixon vetoed it. And then Congress overrode Nixon's veto. So in order for Nixon and the Bar Association, which is the enemy,
yes, sir,
in order for them to proceed, well, then Nixon literally put the bar in charge of the courts in 1973. And that's what he did to maintain control of the unlawful wastewater empire. Well, now what's happened is, now we've discovered that there was another court provided for in Section 9. That's an environmental court to handle environmental matters. That's a separate court from the United States courts. Now we have what we need to take action against the people that are doing things like to Wanda, that's just uncalled for. They're raping her, they're stripping her of all of her life, and doing it all for the sake of to generate unjust enrichments for them. See, these industries are able to go draft from what is called our SESTA-QB trust account. These were established at birth off your BC, your birth certificate, and off your Social Security number and such. These accounts are established and they're worth billions of dollars, and every one of us have those on our head attached to us. And these tyrants impersonating government are doing nothing but attacking these accounts and stripping us. All they have to do is get a court case or any other case, or a case, for example, like Wanda's case, and they use that case to completely, continually strip huge amounts of funds from our SEDICATE trust accounts without our knowledge. So this is what's going on. Now, how do we stop it? Well, the courts are being established, recognized right now. They're commissioned and they're being noticed. All the different agencies in Washington, D.C. are being noticed this week and next week. The Pope, who has just, have you heard that the Pope, as of July 11th, declared all corporations as a criminal enterprise?
That is correct.
Okay. Yep. So that's the beautiful thing there. That's all being That's all being facilitated and caused by the effort of one of my associates, Kevin Annette, which is with in Canada, with the International Tribunal into Crimes by Church and State, and the international in association with the International Court, the International Common Law Court of Justice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're all coming together with us, which we organized about 5 years ago, the National Standards Enforcement Agency, that has to do with unlawful discharge violations, to administer enforcement. Okay, now what's all this mean? All this means is these guys are tyrants. They're criminals. They're not our government. They are criminals. They're imposters. And they're over here to kill, steal, and destroy us. So now what we have is a court that's going to enable each one of us to gain remedy. And we gain remedy just through prosecuting them. And the way this court is set up is to where everyone that's a party to the case receives $1 million in damage benefits, remedy, as a result of being a victim of the injuries, the harm that has been imposed upon us by us having to shower and use this toxic water that's being provided to us as safe drinking water that from the tap. Well, all of us know that the water is polluted. We all know that.
Absolutely.
But what's the remedy? Well, let me tell you. These guys really got caught with their pants down, so to speak. Is the civil penalties for the crime is based on per day. So since July 1, 1973, it has been a civil crime, also criminal, but the civil penalties are $25,000 each day you flush the toilet. $25,000 each day you flush the toilet. Now, according to the law, civil damages are able to start being calculated since July 1, 1977. So that's about 35 years of calculation. We've also, as a result of all the work that we have done over the past 5 years, we have already concluded and affirmed that it's a racketeer influence corrupt organization. Ironically, when Nixon saw that the Clean Water Act was going to be adopted by Congress, he instigated what's called the Environmental Protection Agency. Well, the Environmental Protection Agency was established to protect the industry's wastewater empire. And so Congress, in the same year, in opposition to the Nixon's establishing the United States Environmental Protection Agency, he what Congress did was establish the Racketeer Influence, or adopt the Racketeer Influence Corrupt Organization Act, RICO is what's called. And so that enables treble damages. That justifies treble damages. So basically what I'm telling you is it's $75,000 per day that every one of these tyrants flush their toilet. Now, the beautiful thing about it is it does not, the Federal Water Pollution Control Act, just like all other public law, only applies to the public. And if you're private, it doesn't apply to you. These are laws for the government to do things that they're mandated to do to look out and protect the people's best interest, the private sector's best interest.
Correct.
So it doesn't apply to us. So now we have the authority to begin prosecution against these guys. And every time anyone brings prosecution against one of these tyrants, or two of them, we urge everybody just to bring prosecution against the smaller ones first, and then work your way up. And you just make a list. Generally, in all of our cases, we have a list. I think Wanda probably has a list of about 30 that have all been involved in aiding and abetting this criminal act being committed against her. Well, we're just going to start taking them out one at a time. And, of course, the jury, when we bring this before the grand jury, it's an independent grand jury that has supreme authority in the Supreme Court of the people. So then the jury will have the option to where they can review the case, and if they make a determination that the other 30 people ought to be served an indictment and gathered up, then that's what will happen. But that's up to the jury. We just only want to bring one, and from that one, we'll all go, everyone in this court, in the environmental court, the exciting thing about it is they have a lot of people say, well, how are you going to get the judge, and how are you going to get the U.S. Marshal, because it's all brought at federal level? How are you going to get them to do their job? Well, the beautiful part about it is they took a shower in this toxic water, too, for 40 years. They've been drinking water, too, for 40 years. And they also get $1 million in damages as a result of each case. Upon the prosecution of each case, everyone that's a member of the case, including the magistrate, the clerk, and every member of the jury, even the recorder, even the witnesses, all get included in a $1 million damage claim, where they sign up. They do, at the very beginning of the case, we have a contract that basically is a notice of joinder, and all of the public servants have to take the proper oath, because as you well know, they haven't even taken the proper oath. Mm-hmm. They've all taken the oath to the corporate Constitution of the United States, as opposed to the de jure Constitution for the United States. They've all taken an oath to the corporate charter. And so we correct that right up front. And then at that point, see, so many people say, well, they're committing treason. They're not committing treason because they've never taken their office. In order for treason to be committed by these public servants, they have to first take the correct oath and take an office. Then that puts them in a category where it's treason. It's not treason. Now, all it is international and domestic terrorism. That brings me up to something else. Is every one of these guys are federal agents. Even the municipal cop is a federal agent. They don't answer to the city. They answer to the United States government. And that's so many people don't know that. They have literally come in and they're terrorizing us. And we can't tolerate it anymore. We have to take them to task and begin prosecuting them. And is it okay if I give a website where people can go start to get information how they could do this?
Yes.
Okay. It's a good website to go to start learning would be to nsea.us. That is N as in Nancy, S as in Sam, E as in Echo, A as in Alan, .us as in us. And that stands for National Standards Enforcement Agency. That's an acronym for National Standards Enforcement Agency. And you can go to one of the places to start would be under the tab that says America's Remedies. court. And then everyone's going to be able to prepare their cases. And like Wanda, for example, her case is going to be brought before the jury. And the beautiful part about it is we only have the grand jury. We call 25. We summons and also in this court, all parties are summoned. Every time we convene, all parties are summoned. So, including the federal witnesses.
And what I particularly enjoy about your grand jury idea is that they're all nationals.
Absolutely, yeah. The first thing about it is we have a document where they have to remove themselves from the system. If you get any grief trying to remove yourself, we've just about completed the document that enables the Deputy Secretary of State to transfer the order for the county clerk to remove you from the system. And that, of course, a Deputy Secretary of State is also known as a notary. And then as soon as you're removed from the system, you've taken the steps to declare you are not a citizen of the United States. A citizen of the United States, meaning an instrumentality of the beast and a part of the problem. And one of the fools, if you think that you're a registered voter and your vote counts, well, then you are one of the fools, too. So as Judge Dale said clearly in one of his publications he just put out, he says all that is a slave registration. And once you get your name on there, you have submitted to their authority. Mm-hmm. And from that point on, you will have to deal with their tyranny. You have no choice because you've admitted to be their slave, and this is how they treat their slaves. So you've got to get out of it. So the next thing after you get out of the system and take the steps to remove yourself from that corrupt system, then is you execute what we call a page 9. So page 9 is one of 9 pages where you make your declarations in regard to the court, and you become, page 9 establishes you as an independent grand jury. You declare that you are not a citizen of the United States, that you now are an American national. And we recognize that, and also it's witnessed by 2 other people who are also nationals. So now, as far as we're concerned, you are now one of the people. You have now reestablished your status and standing as one of the American nationals, one of the people, one of the authority, the people who own the court. And so now it's time for us to take back control of our country and restore our water. We want clean water, clean government, and to restore the economical economy. And we can do that by stripping these tyrants of their state trust accounts, and then that goes toward administering clean water and clean government projects globally, not just nationally. And that's the wonderful thing about our court, is it has international jurisdiction, it has single jurisdiction too. That's also provided and defined in the USA Patriot Act of 2001 that provided for terrorism. It's got single jurisdiction, which means you can prosecute anyone actively involved in terrorism from anywhere, and they have to come to where the court is convened. So the beautiful part about it is we're not restricted by county boundaries, borders, or state borders, or not even national borders, with our relationship now with the International Commonwealth Court of Justice, which now we're established in 22 countries. So that's pretty much the gist of what we have.
Yes. Yeah, Tom, I do have a question for you. How would you respond to somebody, because you and I actually have a lot of friends in common. You may not know this, but I also work with Reverend Kevin Annett, and I was also part of the movement to restore the de jure republic for some time before that thing exploded and we all went our separate ways. But I was I'm very familiar with what you're doing, Tom, and I've been listening and following for quite some time.
Awesome.
So and I appreciate what you're doing. In fact, we've made several discoveries when it comes to the Vatican and the Roman Curie that that have been very, very interesting. But I have a question for you, because some of those friends that you and I have in common, they love what you're doing, but they have this problem with the word citizen. They think that we ought to, as we the people, redefine that word citizen and not be so afraid of it. What say you to that?
A citizen is a subject. I don't care how you define it or how you look at it. I don't care if it's capital C or small c. A citizen is subject. And if you're a citizen, you're subject to government. And if you're one of the people, you're subject to God.
Yeah, that's a fair answer. I appreciate it. That's kind of the way I see it too. But I wanted to make sure we clarified that.
I just want to explain something else that's very important that everyone needs to understand. If you're a citizen, if you're registered voters, you do not, and I emphasize this, and I don't care if you believe me or not, doesn't matter to me, you're the one that's going to suffer for it. You do not have rights. You have mere privileges of a citizen. You have status and standing of a citizen. That status and standing is of a dead person. A dead man, a person, a corporation, a fiction.
That's right.
So you have no say. A citizen has no say. A citizen has no standing. And also, a citizen does not have right to bring an action before the International Common Law Court of Justice. It's only available to the people.
Tom, I do have somebody that actually called in. Let me see if they're wanting to ask a question here. Area code 417, are you wanting to ask a question?
No, I'm standing here with Tom.
Oh, okay. All right, that's okay. All right.
I think they're in another room. They got you on found you on Skype or internet somehow.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
The deal is, Rick, it's really important that the rights, all the rights that people have. I mean, these guys are so caught up in studying and learning the codes, rules, regulations, ordinances, trying to figure out ways to beat these guys and these own de facto criminal courts. Mm-hmm. And it's impossible to do that because they're criminals. So when things get to the point to where it's going to where they are threatened, they just throw all the rules and their laws out the door. They don't even recognize their own, and they proceed in tyranny. So they don't recognize you. So I just want to make that clear. It's impossible to go into their sandbox and beat them at their own game in their own court of criminals. They're the enemy. If they're men to the bar, they're the enemy of the people.
Absolutely. And
they've already declared war on us in 1933. So the people need to accept the fact that the war has been declared upon us, and now take action to do something about that.
Right. No, I'm totally with you. I understand that there's several presumptions that have been placed on us. Number one, that we are dead. Number two, that we are somehow lost at sea, and that third, that we're enemies of the state. And unless you remove those or rebut those presumptions, they stay on you. So I've done my thing about noticing every single one of these agents and assigns, letting them know who I am personally. So yeah, I'm totally with you, Tom.
That's right. Now there's one thing. Once it's 30 seconds, so I don't know how much time I got. But.
Yeah, we got some overtime we can go. Go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say that if you're a registered voter, the Bill of Rights amendments do not apply to you, and you cannot claim rights pursuant to them. You have no rights as a citizen, as a registered voter. You have none whatsoever. You are an instrumentality of the criminal enterprise, the beast. And so that's where they get you. If they know that when you walk in there, you've surrendered your rights when you decided to expatriate and be on the board of directors for the United States wastewater industry, you expatriated as one of the people. Because now you can't join the enemy and also have rights of the
yes.
of the people. you know. So the Bill of Rights Amendment, there's only one amendment to the Constitution. It's called the Bill of Rights Amendment, and that amendment has 13 articles, original articles. If they call it the Second Amendment, that Second Amendment has no authority. That Second Amendment is nothing more than a paragraph in a corporate charter of the de facto corporation, not doing business as the United States corporation, but in fact being a bunch of sewer rats in the wastewater utility business. So those articles only apply to the people. And we can claim trespass and prosecute for trespass, but only if we have the status and standing as one of the people. And that's what we've done. We've developed a whole program to enable the people now to be counted. Well, you've got to be counted on the independent grand jury. If you're not a problem, you've got to be a part of the solution. And the way to be part of the solution is to do what's necessary to get on the independent grand jury and be a bona fide member of that grand jury, so that we can begin prosecuting and cleaning house and gaining economic benefit from it. $1 million is a lot of money to everyone, and it's all real. It's all real.
Right. Yeah. You know, Tom, I really don't understand some of these people, how they can think that registering for anything makes you a sovereign. I don't get that. I mean, if you're registering, then you're asking for permission. I don't get that.
Right. That's exactly right, Rick. That's exactly right. You know, I hear this all the time. People say, they'll ask me this question, you know, when we're talking about, you know, doing the paperwork and submitting and so on and so forth, and they ask, well, did you get a response? and I have to explain, you know, if you're the king, you're not going to ask the peasants to respond to you.
Right.
If you do your communication in such a way that you rely on a response from your subordinates, well, then you're not the king.
Right.
It's simple. You are the king only if you act like the king and do kingly things. Otherwise, if you do a response to these so-called public servants, inferiors, subordinates, and you're expecting for them to respond, or do not a response, but you do a communication to them, and you expect for them to respond to you, well, you're not the king. It's just that simple. By your own acts, you have concluded your inferiority.
Right. That's totally correct. I can tell you from experience, because I'm experiencing it right now. Since I've noticed my sheriff, I have been traveling across this state of South Dakota. This is where I live, and I have been traveling with tags that have been expired since March, or not March, May, excuse me, and all I get is waves. They just wave at me as I pass by. So I take that as, you know, as the notice has been obtained.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome, Rick. That's a wonderful thing. We are now. I don't know if you know this or not, but we have just completed the design of a badge, ID card, badge, whatever you want to call it. We're calling it badge because it establishes and represents authority, the high court authority, and
right.
So every one of the grand jurors are going to be able to acquire one of these IDs, and we're also doing what's necessary to get the car tags recognized, because we want to let them know who we are at a distance, so that okay. Who's they? Well, that's them. They are them. Now, so let them know at a distance that you know they better not pull us over. It's like, do not tread on me. Is what that's going to be. Because if a cop pulls you over when you have clearly communicated who you are, your status and standing, by the information that you've provided on either a sticker on your window or the tag on your car, and also you have the identification to identify that you are a high court authority, one of the independent grand jurors of the American people, of the people globally, actually, and you're one of the American ones. Well, then, if he decides to trespass, well, it's a trespass on your rights. And the beautiful part about it is, I know we've already done an investigation. We've already accumulated the actual properties where every single discharge is lawful. And there's only about 25 of them in the entire United States. And all the rest, buildings, homes, houses, you know, any building that has a toilet in it, they're all unlawfully discharging because they're required to have a device called Best Available Demonstrated Control Technology, BADCAT. That device is required to be applied for the last 40 years on each sewer pipe as it comes out from underneath the foundation of a building. That device is supposed to be there to contain and control 65 listed toxic pollutants that are identified in the EPA listed toxic pollutant list. That are, so if any stream or source of any of those pollutants are mandated to have that technology to contain and control those pollutants at the source to prevent them from migrating to cause water or other environmental pollution. And they didn't do that. So this cop, we know for a fact that where he works, the buildings that he goes into during his work, I'm sure it's the jail, it could be the cop shop, it could be the so forth. You can go on zabasearch.com. It's VABA search.com, and you can get his name, and you can identify where he lives. And you got to get the property, because once you get the property, where they live and where they flush their toilet, because it is not served with a BADCAT, it's construed as a listed chemical, biological weapon of mass destruction. So every home is, in fact, a listed chemical, biological weapon of mass destruction. And you can automatically prosecute that cop for 4 violations. Definite violations. We guarantee prosecution. We guarantee it. We guarantee you'll win in the environmental courts. They're all operating in violation of this Public Law 92-500, Section 2, and Sections 301, 302, 306, and 307.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're connected to a public sewer, 402. Now that's 4 violations. Now these are statutory violations of the strict liability statute that attach criminal penalties. That means they're felonies. So we have every one of them for 4 felonies that they've been committing for the last 30 years.
Right.
So since July 1, 1973, so 40 years. A little over 40 years ago. So now, what are the civil damages? $1.1 billion per violation. So if they're not connected to a sewer and they just got a septic tank, which is highly unlawful, I can tell you about a septic tank, but I'm not going to do it right now. It just basically produces the highest toxicity of all the pollutants coming from a household, is magnified to the maximum extent, being exposed to H2O, water, and anaerobic, so it becomes extremely toxic and acidic, and that's what is going into your drinking water table from your septic tank through your drain field or leach field or whatever you want to call it, depends on where you're at.
Right.
That right there is $4.4 billion that you can pop him with. You can strip that cop of everything he has, everything he's ever going to have, and more than likely, he's going to have to go to prison because due to the fact that the strict liability statute, the beautiful part, is non-negotiable. So whatever the jury determines, along with his penalties. Oh, also I forgot to say that after 6 days in the criminal charge aspect, also $25,000 times 3 for RICO, so $750,000 in penalties and criminal penalties after 6 days of unlawful discharge violation. And like I said, they've been committing the crime for 40 years and or 15 years in prison. And that also is affected by the RICO Act. So the 15 years becomes 45 years. So you see the leverage that we have on each one of these guys?
Absolutely.
Every single one of them are committing unlawful discharge violations, and every one of them are guilty of a minimum of 4 felonies that attach civil damages of $4.4 billion. Pretty good leverage.
That is pretty good leverage. I'd say it'd bring a de facto government to its absolute knees.
Yeah, that's the intent. It's exactly the intent. And people say, well, how are we going to get the people? Well, everyone's a victim. So we just have a document. I think it's a 2-page document that every party of the action signs, and that it's a notice of joinder. So everyone also gets $1 million. So the people are going to wake up when they realize that they can bring these tyrants to justice. Well, to justice, there's a history on the word justice, too, but we're not going to go there either. But you can bring these, they've just completely come in and create a whole scenario that is just not true. It's all false. Everything's so false. But the bottom line is they're tyrants, and we have the method by which to get rid of them now. And now what we have to do is just get it done.
Tom, I'm going to have to bring you on and give you an entire hour to talk about all the things that you know.
I'd be glad to anytime.
Yeah,
no
we'll have to set that up. But for now, I'm going to have to end this. Wanda, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm right here.
Hey, Wanda, I just want to thank you for coming on and telling your story. I need to stop this recording, so I'm going to go ahead and close the show down, but Skype will keep running, so I'll be able to say goodbye to you. So just give me 1 second here.
Thank you.
So for Wanda and Tom, this is Rick Hidalgo. This has been another episode of the House of Hidalgo show. God bless everybody. Stay safe, and let's work together on bringing this thing down.